Okay, so it's going on a Han Dynasty here. Second part of the classic civilizations of China. Talked about the Qin last week. Um, so kind of just reviewing how the Qin Dynasty came to its decline. You had a combination of Huangdi dying in 210 BC and a series of effective leaders, internal fighting, rebellion from the lower classes, and you had the Qin Dynasty falling. Shortly thereafter, about a 12-year period or so, there was kind of a time of unrest where nobody's really in control, and the Han Dynasty is established, which ruled for about 400 years. It's not unusual for those dynasties in China at that point to be lasting like 400 and even sometimes more. The Han Dynasty is super influential in the development of China relative to things such as the Silk Road, China, the Great Wall of China, the civil service examination, things of that sort. So the Han Dynasty was established and kind of used a lot of the same types of controls and things that the Qin had already been using, but they kind of backed off a little bit. They did a little kinder and gentler version of legalism. Lowered taxes, and some of the harsh punishments that the Qin were known for were disbanded. And so you had a little bit more, like I said, a little more kinder and gentler approach to rule than what the Qin had established, previously. As a result, you have a time of peace and prosperity. Sometimes you talk about the classic civilizations. We talk about Pax Romana in Rome, 200 years of relative peace and strength and size and so forth, wealth. And the Han Dynasty was kind of that version in China. Emperor Udi was probably the most significant reign from 141 to 87 BC. He is most well known for expanding the Chinese empire through warfare, through conquest, expanding into regions such as Korea and Vietnam. So you look at a map that compares China or Chinese dynasties in terms of size, you'll see that the Han Dynasty was larger than Qin, larger than Zhao, larger than the Shang, which we studied earlier. Civil service system was continued on. Wudi's government, in order to serve in that type of government position, you had to have a certain amount of proficiency in the teachings of Confucianism. The downfall of that is it actually reduced the amount of people who could actually serve in government positions, because really only the wealthy could afford to be educated enough to pass this. So there was some advantages to that. The advantage to the civil service system is that you're having people who are pretty educated and can get through problems and problem solve, things of that sort. The negative aspect of that is that you are now drawing from a relatively small portion of the population. So, middle class, working class, peasant classes aren't really going to have the ability to be able to pass those tests. So I get kind of eliminated from government positions. Technology, commerce, and culture. Paper was invented during this time period, which was pretty significant because it allowed more people to be educated. Agriculture was an honored occupation, which was not always the thing. In the Qin, it was the military service was honored. Here, agriculture was a huge part of it. And then probably the most significant in terms of technology, commerce, and culture was the development of the Silk Road. It's not really an innovation. This kind of happened through trade, where basically it's really the first time that through land trade routes, Eastern Europe, parts of the northern part of the Middle East started to be connected to China. And so the goods started flowing back and forth, mostly goods from China into European, like silk was like the big one. That's why it was called the Silk Road. Obviously silk is a fabric, and something that the Europeans had no idea what it was. And when they saw, beautiful colors, soft, silky material, that made a significant contribution. The decline of the Han Dynasty is pretty much the same as it's normally been. imbalances, political infighting, social unrest, things of that sort leads to its downfall. By 20, the Han Dynasty is disintegrated into 3 rival kingdoms. Much like what happened to Alexander the Great, it eventually falls apart. Really, is not a problem anymore.